We-
Yep. We are good. You're good to go.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. You are the host now, okay? You're good to go.
Awesome. Thank you.
2 minutes. Thank you, guys.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. My name is Dewayne Roos. I'm a Division Chief in the H-Directorate for Recruiting and Retention. One of the ways that we can help meet our objectives to get new members and also retain the ones we currently have is to offer training that will support the knowledge that our auxiliary HR team really needs. And that's why we're here now. Today's training is on critical forms, including the 7035 change in membership status. We're getting into the season where that will be running hot and heavy, so we want to be prepared for it. We have a third additional presentation that will follow later this year. It's onboarding new members. I would mention, for the purposes of delivery, we grouped the auxiliary districts into groups of Eastern, Central, and Pacific, roughly. And as you know, the Coast Guard recently renamed their districts using names instead of numbers. And the auxiliary has followed suit with that. So we'll be adopting those as well. I would mention that I think you may know that, or you should know by now, but we are using YouTube. The reason we're doing that is some of our sessions have too many participants to support on Zoom. When we are sending the presentation to you on YouTube, we can train more people in less time because with these 3 topics, we're going countrywide, and we want to try and roll it out as quickly as we can within reason. We do regret, though, we don't have the interaction between presenter and participants that Zoom offers, but we think it's a reasonable trade-off. I would mention, I'm not sure if it's showing up on your screen. We had a little issue with it last time. There may be a form there where you can fill it out if you have a question. Whether or not it's there and whether or not you want to use it, if it is there, you can also just email us if you have a question, and would be glad to get back to you. And we do it fairly quickly. We'd also love hearing what you think of the session. I would have mentioned that this presentation is being recorded, and the same link that you used tonight to access the session can access the recording for you later on. Just return to, click the link and return to the YouTube and click on, and you can access it. And like in the YouTube, you can also, if there's a certain question that you have, you can fast forward or you can go back, whatever works for you. Anyway, let's get underway. Your presenter is Rio Anas. He is a branch chief in the H-Directorate in my division. He is also a division commander, district staff officer, human resources, staff officer, and Flotilla staff officer for HR. And also, he's a Flotilla Staff Officer for Marine Safety, just in case he gets bored. I've shared either has shared or currently share all of the same offices except the Marine Safety one. Anyway, let's get underway. And again, welcome. Thank you, Rio.
Share screen. Okay, are you seeing that, Dwayne?
Yes.
Okay. Issue right now with the not advancing. Okay, I'll have to do it down there. All right. Okay, good evening, and thank you for attending our session here. As Dwayne said, our session tonight is on the critical forms, and we'll do the in-depth review on the 7035, 7056, and the 7028. So processing, critical forms to support the auxiliary and member needs. Doesn't matter. It absolutely does. The more that we understand how the process goes, and the more we get comfortable doing it, the easier it'll be, and it'll also help the member, get through whatever it is that they want to have done with, little inconvenience at all. And we want to try to do that. So critical form success, efficiently and correctly accomplishing what is needed for the member and for the auxiliary. So the HR position is one of the most valuable positions of all of the bridge staff, since you are the lifeblood of the auxiliary. Without HR, there's no members. You are mission critical. We're there from, the beginning. We help, prospects through the initial stage, including the application and getting that completed, getting it submitted. And then, we're helping them, after that point, once they're enrolled, getting acclimated to the auxiliary and going through their onboarding and training and getting them on their path toward whatever it is that they'd like to do. So, we're much like the private sector HR. We assist our workers with almost all of their employment needs. And yes, we are the go-to people for members who will ask, how do I do this? Whatever it is. And that can be anywhere in the future. We were their first contact, so we've already got that relationship built. So they will often come to us, asking for assistance in something. So even if what they're asking about might not be in our, direct function, we should always, help or direct them to where they can get the assistance. Consider yourself kind of an unofficial but vital mentor, and that, that's going to be an ongoing process. And remember, we are Team Coast Guard, Pepper Paratus.
Rio?
Yes.
Are you seeing, there's a little window up at the top, kind of getting in the way of your titles.
Oh,
I don't know if it'll let you move that away or not. I've never seen that before. It says, please move this window away from the shared application. I was wondering if you could maybe, if you see it, if you could grab it with your cursor and just slide it off.
yeah, I tried to. Like a little square.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's not that big a deal, but I've never seen it before.
Yeah, I don't know why it's there, and I'm not seeing an X or anything to be able to get rid of it. Huh.
Okay. All right. We'll live with it.
Yeah, I do not see an X or anything, and it won't let me move it. I'm sorry to our audience here on that. So a presentation note, something we want to cover. is the content of this training is to promote efficient and correct nationwide standard practices throughout all of the flotillas for the tasks that we commonly perform. And it's also intended to offer district HR officers basic vetted training materials for new officers and to refresh current ones so they don't have to create new training materials. We'll be kind of like that one source for that. Now, keep in mind that while we try to have a standard training package here that should work throughout any district, we do recognize that there are some differences in practices, some nuances between districts and DIR-HdS. So in these cases, when you see something that's just a little different than what you encounter, just consult with your chain of leadership for direction and any questions. So what we'll cover is critical forms. So it'll be the 7035 change of membership status. And that would be the final notice for outstanding dues, retirement from the auxiliary, transfer to another flotilla, whether it's in district or out of district, voluntary disenrollment from the auxiliary, and then also death of a member. And
Rio, I'm not seeing that slide. It didn't advance.
can you see this one?
I'm seeing the presentation notes slide, and it didn't go past that.
Wow, that is. How about now?
It hasn't changed.
Well, I don't, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm going to have to stop sharing and bring this back up again. Sorry for the inconvenience.
No, it's better take the time.
Yeah. I do not know what's going on tonight.
There it is.
Still had that little window there too. So yes, we'll be covering the 7056 member transfer request. And again, that's for the same district or outside to a different district. And then the 7028 member change of information. Okay. So important forms tip, critical forms. Read and refer to instructions, and they are on the forms, on page 2, both in the forms that you'll find the instructions and also provided separately, at the end. You cannot backdate a change. You might be able to post-date a change with agreement of your DIR-HdS. Always complete all relevant information and sign when indicated. Mistakes in this process can cost time, and you might not achieve the disenrollment if, in desired calendar year. Again, always ask questions as often as you need it. There's always help out there. So just ask for it. You'll get it. We want to make sure you understand and are comfortable with the process. And no, it's not a good idea to guess. So where do we go to get these forms? We go to the forms warehouse. That's where we get all of our forms. And so here down the list, you'll see the 7028. These are all PDF fillable forms. And 7035, change of member status. And then 7056, member transfer request. So here's an example. This is the 7035 change of membership status. And you'll see there's 5 sections on this that need to be completed, and they'll cover, everything. And we'll go into this more detail, but we want to give you an idea what the form looks like. And here's page 2 with the instructions. A lot of extra instructions there for a reason why a member might be leaving. And then we'll enlarge it a little bit here so you can get a better view of it. And this will be the general information, section 1 and section 2. And then the lower part of that page where they have the instructions for section 3, 4, and 5. So standard on all 7035 forms. You're always going to have that member's last name, first name, middle initial, and member ID. And remember, we're going to the forms warehouse to get this. And you'll see that it will be the most current form in your upper left there. Right now, that is 09 of 24. So that should be the one you're using. The forms warehouse will always have the most current form. So please don't Google or go to one that you've saved on your desktop, because it may have changed. If it's a dues issue and no contact from that member, then the flotilla commander needs to document contact attempts with that member. The flotilla commander will complete the information in this upper section here, section 1, with the year and the amount. Now, if this is not a dues issue, then the flotilla commander doesn't need to do anything with this upper section at all, other than the last name, first, middle initial, and the member ID. That's all you'd have to have here if it's not dealing with a dues issue. And if the flotilla commander is sending this out, then he needs to sign and date it. And remember, that starts the clock on a 30-day notice to pay, because you'll read in here that they need to have the dues submitted 30 days from the notice of this form. Do you have a timeline? Now, this is an example, and it's a good idea to have one. If your district doesn't have one, you should have one. It will really be helpful for all your flotillas. So you start with the dues billing to all members. The example here would be August 1st. So then you have September 1st. You could have a second dues billing notice by email. And in and around there, you may also make a separate phone call. Maybe it's a voice message or a text message, some other contact method. So now by October 1st, you still not received dues at all. So now is when you need to send that 7035 out to that member, advising them that they have 30 days to pay dues. So now we get up to November and you still haven't heard anything from that member. So now this is where the flotilla commander continues the process, sending the disenrollment form onto the DSO-HR. And that should be received by the DSO-HR by 11/15 so they can take care of what they need to do. And in most districts, we need to get these disenrollments to DIR-HdS by 12/1 so that they have ample time to get a disenrollment done before the first of the year. Any member that still unrolls after the first of the year, potentially you're going to get billed for that person. So you want to make sure you get through this process, in a timely manner so we can take care of the disenrollments. Later action risks flotilla having to pay the member dues, as I mentioned. And this timeline only works if the flotillas stay on the schedule. Starting sooner isn't a bad idea, though. I mean, if maybe you make an announcement at the July flotilla meeting and maybe send out dues billing, earlier. That's fine, as long as you've got something that you can work with to keep you on task. And this would, relate to the flotilla commander, the HR, and the finance officer. Everybody's working together on this. So does your district flotilla consistently use a timeline? Well, hopefully. And when you follow the dues timeline, you'll provide consistent process for all flotillas. And it communicates, what has to happen and when. It ensures sufficient contact attempts were made. And it documents each step in contact. And it allows for the 7035 to be processed before year end and appropriate members disenroll. And ensures the flotilla is not charged for those members. So there's other options on the 7035 member change form. So in section 2, this would be the member, and they are indicating what they would like to do. So maybe they're at a time frame where they're wanting to retire. So there's an option. Maybe you want to transfer to another flotilla. Maybe they'd want to disenroll. It could be that they, had a job change and they don't have time anymore, or whatever the case may be. And in this box down here, they would fill in, in writing, whatever it is, brief statement. And then the 3 boxes below actually have drop downs with reasons. So when you download this form, those will show up for you. Remember now, if they are desiring a transfer, we need to have the 7056 form completed as well, and both of these submitted together. So on this, you need to have the flotilla number at the top and the date. And this could happen earlier than that timeline that we previously talked about. It could be in, March or April that the member chooses to transfer or retire. And they should include their ID card if possible. And that's the lower box here. They'll mark whether they had the ID card enclosed. And remember, for this to be valid, this is what the member is indicating they'd like to do. They have to sign this. We can't do it without their signature. Again, section 2 here, talking about retirement. So it's qualified after 15 years of service. So the member may put in their date of enrollment, but as a flotilla commander HR, you want to verify that date. Make sure there's no issues. And a member may receive a retirement, one or all of the above, or these indicated. Could be a certificate, a PIN, an ID card. Just check with your DSO-HR or DIR-HdS for your district to see what it is that they might send out to the member. Section 3. So this is completed by the flotilla commander. So to the DSO-HR, you can add a name or a district number. It really doesn't matter. There's no hard, fast rule on that. You give the disenrollment effective date. Now, again, you cannot backdate that. And you would check the box for indicating non-payment of financial obligations, or if there's an option that the member's requesting that they are looking to disenroll, or the member desires and is eligible for retirement status, you mark that box. And if it's a death of a member, please provide a date if you can get it, and then also the next kin. I know in my district, 9 Central, I send a copy of this form when I get it as the DSO-HR to a previous Commodore who is in the past Commanders Association, and he handles those members who cross the bar, gets them added to a list, and then we have their names read at the D-trains. Verify with your DSO whether the division commander signature is needed. And you can see the box here is an optional for the division commander. So whether they need to sign it or not, I would at least, as a flotilla commander, when you're forwarding on to your DSO-HR, copy the division commander so they're aware of members leaving the flotilla. I think it's good that they have an idea of who's coming and going. And forward to your chain of leadership, follow the forms flow. So here's a real situation example here on how you do this for a non-payment of dues. So until you've gone through the process and that member has not responded to you, it's after the initial notice on 8/1, 9/1, now you're up to October 1st and you've not heard anything from them. So now you're sending this out to that member, advising them officially that if you're not paying your dues within 30 days, they will be disenrolled. So the flotilla commander will fill out this upper section with the member's name, first name, middle initial, their member ID number, the year, which we're talking about the dues for 2026 right now, and the amount. Flotilla commander puts their name in there and the date, which would be 10/1. So now we have the clock running. So 30 days from then will be November 1st that we'll take the additional action if we've not heard from that member. So and you would also add the flotilla number in here. So you'd send this out, can be sent out with return receipt requested, certified mail or priority mail. You don't have to get, but you have to try. And here's an example of a dues notice by email. You may do things differently, but this is just an example. And so this might go out August 1st, and maybe we'll be repeating it in September 1st. But when you're sending out that 7035, it's a good idea to send this along with that 7035 on the chance that this member never got any emails, never got any of your voice messages or text messages. Now they're getting this physical in the mail service. So now you're giving them all the information possible where to send dues if they really want to pay dues. Okay, so this is a person. Oh, let me back up 1 second and add one thing in here. So we're dealing with the dues situation. So what if you forward this on to DIR-HdR to get this price processed, and the person's been disenrolled by, December 15th. And all of a sudden on December 20th, this member comes to you and says, hey, I've got my dues. I want to pay. I want to stay in. That is possible that DIR-HdR can reverse this disenrollment, but you need to make quick contact to your DSO-HR so that they can contact DIR-HdR to have that done. Now, on the case where your member finally comes out of the woods and contacts you in February saying, hey, I want to stay in the auxiliary. I see I got, notice that I was disenrolled. I want to pay my dues and stay in. Well, at that point, they're going to have to fill out a new application because it's been beyond 60 days since they were disenrolled. And I know in my district, 9 Central, 30 days is the cutoff. We can do anything prior to 30 days on reversing this disenrollment, but after 30, they need to fill out an application. Okay, so here's a member requested disenrollment situation. Again, we need to have the member's name, last name, first name, and their ID number at the top, and it's standard on all forms. We have a flotilla number, and we have the date, 11/1 here, but maybe they're requesting to disenroll, earlier in the year, say June. Well, that's fine. We're just trying to set a date here late in the year so we can manage to get this handled before the first year rolls around. So we're trying to keep with a timeline here, if at all possible. So they'll mark the box that they desire to disenroll, and they can write in whatever reason it might be. And that particular reason is one of those that is on the drop down. This member would then also check the box that they're turning in their ID card. But if they didn't have it, flotilla commander can verify, what was the status on the card. Maybe it got lost. Maybe it's they never got one. Maybe they're one of those people who have been in AP status all along and never did get an ID card. So we would do that. Remember that the member does need to sign this. This is their request, so they need to sign that. Flotilla commander will then fill out the rest of this in section 3. So to the DSO-HR, the effective date they're looking for. Check the box at member's request, sign it, date it, and forward it on to the DSO-HR. These can be emailed, and I'd like to point out that signature here should be one of those Adobe signatures. I've heard that if people use the electronic signature feature, it does not copy through when you're saving this form, passing it on for additional signatures. So we want to make sure it's not electronic. Use the Adobe format for the signature. because emailing these forms is the best. We want to try not to use the postal service, doing physical mail on these, because there's no original signature that's needed, just needs to be a signature. So we have a member requested retirement situation. Again, pretty much form standard is the same. Name at the top, ID number, flotilla number, date again. That could be earlier in the year, but we need to start something that's late. We need to stay on a timeline so we can get this done. The member will check the box for their desire to retire. They'll have their date of enrollment, which again, flotilla commander HR needs to verify that. We'll also deal with this ID card again. Are they turning it in, or what's the status of it? So we'll check that box and make any note that's necessary. And then again, we have to have that member sign that, because that is their request, what they want to do. Flotilla commander will also continue this form in section 3, sending it to the DSO-HR. They will then verify that yes, the member is desiring and is eligible for retired status. They'll mark that box, sign it, date it, and send it on to the DSO-HR. Now you see a little note down here. This is what, as a DSO-HR, I do in my district. Before I send it on to DIR-HdS, I make an additional note down there. Please send retirement certificate and PIN. It's kind of a reminder that you're getting retirement. Please do this for the member. This might be different in your district or your DIR-HdS. So just thought I'd let you know how we handle it. So getting that ID card, we need to attempt to get that back. Occasionally it never issued, or maybe they're not renewed. And if you retrieve it, you can return it with a 7035 copy to your DSO-HR. Or, and I like it in my district, I have my flotilla commanders destroy it. That way they don't have to mail something to me for me to turn around and just shred it. I trust them to take care of it themselves. And then all they have to do is just email me the 7035. If it's not retrieved, again, we want to make a note on that 7035 that you tried, and what was the status? Why couldn't you get it? Here we have a status for a situation for a death of a member. Again, name at the top, flotilla number, whatever date we're working with this, and it might be the date you were notified. Obviously, we're not going to have any signature here, so we skip the rest of box 2, and we'll go down to box 3 for the flotilla commander. Put in a DSO-HR, check for death of a member, and if you've got a date, that's nice. You can put that in that box, and then also we want to check the box and try to obtain the next of kin information. I know that DIR-HdS will send out condolence letter and acknowledging the service of the member. So that's kind of a nice thing to do. So if we can get that information, that's what we really need to try to do. Flotilla commander will sign this, date it, and then forward it on to the DSO-HR. And here we have a member that's requesting a transfer. Again, same standard. Always have to have that name at the top of the page in section 1. Section 2, we're going to have flotilla number and date we're working with. Then again, can be any time of the year. Doesn't have to be at the end of the year. And then the member will check the box that they desire to transfer, and they'll put in where is it they want to go. And then the member needs to sign this. Again, you also have to have a 7056 form to accompany this when you're signing this on. Flotilla commander will sign or fill out section 3 here, to the DSO-HR, sign it, date it, and send that in the 7035 on to the DSO-HR. So that basically covers the 7035. And so now we're heading on to the 7056 for transfers. So as soon as you go to the forms warehouse and you open up this transfer form, you'll see this box right in the middle. And it says before you can fill out this form, either electronically or manually, you must check within district or outside district to bring up the proper format for the actions required. And this form does change. You'll see that in the next slides, where it has a different appearance based on your choice. And electronically is the best way to handle these. That means we can email this on to, flotilla commanders for their signatures, and it can go, right on down the line. Manually just means you would print it out, sign it by hand, and then, maybe copy it as an email attachment and forward it on. Working within the electronic is really the best way to go. It's a nice fillable form. Again, there's instructions on this form. You got page 2 has lots of instructions here. They're very helpful. So you can read those or ask questions if you need to. Also, reminder, going to the forms warehouse will get you the most current form. And on this one, it is the March of 23 form. So it's not been updated yet, but it may be at any time. So always go there. Don't use saved forms or Google for a form. So we've checked the box for a transfer within. So this is so far the appearance of this form. And this can be completed by the flotilla commander to assist a member, but the member does need to sign it. What flotilla is the member transferring from? Their current flotilla, and to what one they want to go to. Current flotilla commander marks approved, hopefully, and then forwards it on to the receiving flotilla commander. And forward it through your chain of leadership forms flow. So here's a sample filled out of an in-district transfer. So we have the member's name at the top. We have their signature, their member number, the date that they signed this, the effective date we want this to be done. And of course, this time of year, this is kind of critical. So we're working with 11/15 on this example. It shows what flotilla, the district, division, and flotilla number, and to what one are they transferring. Again, you need to route this with the 7035 to your DSO-HR. The flotilla commander would then get their name on here, sign it, and mark approved. I've not seen any disapproved yet, but I guess that could happen. My recommendation, and it's just because it kind of works smoothly in my district, is you route this to the DSO-HR, who manages the approval signature of the receiving flotilla, and then sends it on to DIR-HdS. I think for a flotilla commander, that's nice if they were to send it on to the receiving flotilla commander, but now they've taken on the burden of making sure that this is getting signed and gets sent on to the DSO-HR. So in my district, I like to take that burden off of the flotilla commander. Once you as the current flotilla commander sign it, get it to me, and I will then go get that receiving flotilla commander signature and handle it and get it on its way to DIR-HdS. I just like to try to make the job as easy for the flotilla commanders as it can be. So this is an example of an outside district form. So you can see it's got a little bit of a change here. So in section 1, or it says section 2, but anyway, the upper section here, A, we still have the member name and their signature, their ID number, their date, and the request date. But now we've got additional information here. It changes up a little bit. It goes from a flotilla with a division flotilla and then a district separate. And then to what flotilla? Again, district or division flotilla and then a district. It also adds in a phone number for that member and their email. It does say or email, so you could have either or both. And that's so that they could be contacted during the transfer process if needed. Again, we route this with the 7035 to the DSO-HR. Flotilla commander will then have their name on it, sign it, mark approved, and then forward it on. Now you can see where this form really gets kind of, it's like a ping pong game. And that's why in my district, I kind of like to take that burden off a flotilla commander. Because here, not only are they supposed to send it on to the receiving flotilla commander, but now that receiving flotilla commander is supposed to send it back to the current director of auxiliary. And I'm pretty sure that the flotilla commander in district 054 there is not going to know who to send it to in 9th Central. So that's why in my district, I like to have them put it in my lap, and I will manage this process because I've got the contacts and I can take the burden off the flotilla commander. Once it gets in the hands of the current director of auxiliary, they will manage sending the package on to the receiving director of auxiliary. So that part we don't have to worry about once it gets there. So for a 7028 member profile change, that means a member wants to change some information. Again, we go to the forms warehouse. We're getting the most current form that looks to be June of 24. The member would fill out whatever it is that they need to change. And yes, of course, the member can go into AUX Data 2 and make these changes on their own if they're capable of doing that. They have enough working knowledge of AUX Data 2, that's fine. I do suggest that they send this form to their FSO-IS though, so that the FSO-IS can verify that the changes the member wanted to be made were done correctly in the system. And that way they can also follow up with that member. And this form itself could be just directly sent to the FSO-IS for them to make the change if the member is not comfortable with AUX Data 2. The back of the form does have lots of instructions, mostly on just this upper section of page 2. After that, it's got numerous skill bank codes for the next 3 pages. So they're there if you need them. And I don't think the member's usually going to be changing those too much. It's usually a matter of an address or something like that. So what we covered was the critical forms, the 7035 change of membership status. So that was the final notice for outstanding dues. Retirement from the auxiliary, transfer to another flotilla, voluntary disenrollment from an auxiliary, or a death of a member. We also covered the 7056 member transfer form, which you can see is a little simpler if they're doing the transfer within district, but can be more complicated when you're dealing with 2 different districts. And then we covered the 7028 member change of information. So hopefully that made you a little bit more comfortable with the process. And again, you can ask questions if you need to. And at this point, Wayne has some final comments for you, but I'd like to remind you that this is a training session. So, you know, mark it on your 7029 or an AUX Data 2 using code 99D because you are getting some training here, valuable training, I hope. Okay, Dwayne.
Thanks, Rio. I think Rio always does a great job on these, but I just had a couple of thoughts that came to me as I was listening. I've been a DSO-HR as well, and you know, we kind of some of the things we learn kind of stick with us. With dues, I would always ask you to remember to stay on schedule, and like Rio said, maybe start earlier than the timeline. Never hurts to start early. It can be real hard to catch up if you start late. And you know, then the flotilla will have to pay the dues, and that's not good. You know, when I was a DSO-HR, sometimes you know on the part 1 of the form, you put the year and you put how much dues are owed, and sometimes the year would be 2 or 3 years ago. That means you know the flotilla has been paying the dues and the member hasn't, and that's just not good. You know,
that money could be better spent on things for the auxiliary. If the member is off the auxiliary roles by the end of the year, you should have a credit coming for the dues that their flotilla paid. I would caution you to stay in your lane, though. Don't make any commitments about dues or credits to the flotilla. If they have questions, I would refer them to the financial officers. It's really not our call. And remember, we want to get the dues. Our protocol is to get the dues before the calendar year that they are for. So they're really not delinquent, but on the other hand, they do need to pay the dues to remain a member. Not paying the dues is a way of telling us, not the most efficient way, but that they don't want to be a member. Respect your DIR-HdS's work schedule. Remember, they don't only have your issues to deal with, they've got the entire district, and everything crams up at the end of the year because there's always people that aren't on top of it. I'm sure all of you will be. But they're facing the tsunami of dues processing at the end of the year. So if you get your stuff in on time and you need a favor, you're much more likely to get it than if your stuff goes in there late. Again, work with your timeline. Also, make sure you know what's the last day that DIR-HdS will process disenrollments, because in theory we have till the end of the month, December, for it to get processed. But in my district, I'm in District 1 Northern. There's a new financial DSO-FN, and he's saying that they're going to. I hope this isn't right, but I think he said December 10th. So if that's the last day they're going to process them, then they can't do them all on that date, so they've got to be there early. So it's critical to know when that date is, and I'm kind of hoping that date doesn't stick, because that's pretty tough to get that done by then, especially if you look at the timeline that we looked at. Retirement awards vary a bit by district, so find out what yours are. In my district, we have a former a district commodore that handles it, and when she gets notified, anyone in the district can notify her of it. Well, I kind of branch into a death of a member, but they have a process, and each district is a little bit different. Know the process for retirement awards for your district, as well as for deaths in the district. One thing I just would mention is that when we get a member to join the auxiliary, we have a value proposition. The things that they attract us to joining are more than the things that they maybe don't like about us. So we should try to improve that. We should support them, make sure they get the training they need, answer their questions, and support them. Another thing, is when you retire from the auxiliary, you have to have 15 years of service in, and if you do, you probably put quite a few hours in. And it's not been approved or even close to it, but I've been advocating, why can't we have CGX privileges for someone that's retiring? At the age some of our members are, they're retired, they probably wouldn't use it much. But if we tell somebody when they're joining, even after you retire, like the armed forces, you will have privileges for there. So I'm still working on that. And as Rio told you, transfers within district are much simpler than outside of the district. But either way, just stay on top of it and do your part. If the next step, the next district, if it's out of the districts, is slow on it, you can't really control that, but you can do your part. And again, I cannot say often enough, stay on top of things. In the auxiliary, some of our members tend to be older. Our memory isn't probably as good as it used to be. So make sure you use your calendar. Like if you mail a 7035, make sure it goes in your calendar to follow up on it. Or anything you do that's important should be on your calendar. Otherwise, it can slip through the cracks. And again, don't be concerned to ask questions. Your fellow members, want to help you just like you want to help other members. And once you have the information you need, then you can also help other members. So that was my final thoughts. I just want to thank you again for joining us. I hope this was helpful. So far, the feedback we've gotten has been very good. So I hope that continues. And that's all I have for tonight. Unless Rio has anything else, I'm going to let you go.
Nope, I'm all set, and just appreciate the attendance tonight, and hopefully you did get some valuable information out of this.
And again, any questions you have after the fact, we'll be glad to receive them and get those answers back to you, and let us know what you thought of the session. And you can also call us if you want to. That's fine too. The contact info is here. We're also, we're in the directory, the AUX directory, AUX officer directory. So, you can find us there as well. Anyway, thanks again, and have a good evening. Take care.